There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. I have an amazing guest with me today. We're going to have a really incredible conversation. And this is Karl Braveman. He is the amazing creator of this small film right now called Visioning the New Earth. And I say small because it's not a full-length feature film at this moment, but it's an amazing, incredible. I watched it. It's so impactful and powerful. Karl, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited you said yes to my invitation to be my guest.
Oh, well, it's absolute pleasure, Dee. Really, really is. I'm in the UK right now, but I'm sending big, big love to you over there in the States, particularly now, of course.
Thank you.
But yeah, lots and lots of love.
Thank you so much. This episode won't drop until after this week is over with, but I'm super excited that you're sending all that love because the way I feel about it is love is what is going to heal our planet or what is healing our planet at this moment. So I feel like that's so powerful. So I truly appreciate you sending that over here to us. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good point to start off on, really, is just the power of love, the power of that vibration, and how these dark energies and these dark forces and all the problems in the world, we're kind of in this everything crisis right now, aren't we? It's just
Yes.
like everything coming up, the shadow, right, is coming up to be healed. And in order to heal something, we have to see it, we have to be aware of it, it has to come fully into focus, and that's not a comfortable process. We're much happier when we are just like it's just over there somewhere,
Yeah.
in the background, and la 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 la, that's not real, that's not real,
Right.
you know. And actually, the sort of the I'm making light of it, obviously, because it's good to remain a sense of humor about these things, and
Yes.
remember joy and laughter and playfulness and that inner child quality of magic that is so underrated, right,
Yes.
by sort of mainstream society. Play and laughter and childlike energy, that's the energy of dreams. It's the energy of
Yes.
hope. It's the energy of transformation. It's just like, oh, I wonder how things could be different. And my film, Visioning the New Earth, yeah, it touches on some really heavy stuff. It doesn't pull any punches. Within that kind of 5, 6 minute film, I managed to kind of sprinkle in quite a few of the shadow elements that we're dealing with. Not all of them. That would be a long, a long list, right?
That would
But
be a
it kind
feature
of
length
just
film.
that would be a feature-length film. People would get halfway through and be like, "Oh my God, it's so depressing." So, my vibe very much is both real and visionary. It's like,
Yes.
how do we create a vision for the future, both within our own lives and within our communities and our society? First, we have to wake up. We have to wake
Yes.
up to what is real now. And that's not a comfortable experience sometimes. It involves some uncomfortable truths, some uncomfortable feelings, some uncomfortable explorations. But certainly, what I've discovered in my journey, at least, is that we don't grow particularly well when we're comfortable, and that we actually need, individually and collectively, a degree of discomfort. Now, clearly, there's a spectrum, right?
Mhm.
And perhaps the degree of discomfort that we're coming into generally in the next few weeks, the next few years, it's going to be like high on that Richter scale, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes.
With world events, I think particularly there's going to be a lot of big, big events, and that's an opportunity, like it is every day, right, Dee? The opportunity is there for us to either be lost in it, lost in the stress, the anxiety, the fear, or to practice that eagle's perch, observer, the watcher, the mindfulness. It doesn't mean that we're disconnected. Actually, it means we have a greater connection, a deeper connection that we can see beyond and above the difficulty and the challenge, to the treasure that might be there, to the alchemy that might be there, to the gold that might be there. and that we need sometimes in life, and we need a lot of change right now on planet Earth, right? We need a huge amount of stuff to shift and change. And that's not going to happen by us putting our feet up on the sofa and just vegging out in front of Netflix. It's going to require us to wake up, right? And to
Yes.
engage and recognize that actually the leadership in the world, I don't know whether they are that keen on changing things. They're pretty happy with the way things are right now.
Mm,
Divide and rule, profit by sickness and illness and disease and war. They're doing very nicely, thank you very much.
yes.
So we can't anticipate that the changes that we want to see are going to come from those kind of energies. We have to be the creators ourselves. We have to be the leaders ourselves. We have to be the change agents. And that means for me, like, okay, well, how am I going to sort out climate change or, war in the Middle East or I don't
Right.
know, the amount of space debris in space is like, oh, I can't do anything about it. But okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do in my world, right? It starts with us. That's the way I finish the film is by reminding people that it starts with us, starts with this moment. And, actually small steps done on a large scale by millions and millions of people, phenomenal change, profound transformation. If everybody wakes up tomorrow and go, I think I'm going to buy my food from a local marketplace, not one of these huge, great big supermarket chains. You imagine if just like millions of people just woke up tomorrow morning, they've never thought this before, and they just go, do you know what? I think I might start eating a bit more organic food, or I might have a look at homeopathy or herbal medicine rather than going to my doctor for another pill.
Yeah.
It just that it seems so inconsequential, but when replicated by millions and millions of people, I think I might try that thing called meditation. I've never heard of it. I've never tried it. Let's give it a try, and you just
Yeah.
think, wow, I mean, for people like you and I who are like seasoned, you know, meditators, mindfulness people, spiritual people, we're like, that's so last year. I've done all that, right? But actually, for a lot of people, that they're still living a very disconnected life. They're
Yes.
still living a very unconscious life, and that's not a judgment, in my opinion.
No.
It's not. I'm not a big us and them type thing.
Right.
We're all in this kind of thing, and we have to remember. Oh, I used to be like that too, right?
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, for me, it's definitely about remembering that small steps create giant transformation over time.
Mhm.
And the more people get encouraged and enthused and inspired, and yes, face the difficulties that are happening both in our individual lives with pain, with illness, with mental health challenges, with stress, anxiety, money worries, all of these real nuts and bolts human situations, you know, that can be helped and healed and transformed and transmuted over time by seemingly quite simple techniques. Actually, most of what spirituality is about, in my experience anyway, is quite simple
Yeah.
um practices, but it's the repetition of those things that build that consciousness muscle, that elevate the spirit. Like you were saying off air before we jumped on the recording about, coming back into playfulness, coming back into the inner child energy, allowing ourselves to dream and vision and be excited about the future because
Yeah.
we're in the middle of this everything crisis. It's like there's no hope, it's doomed, it's a complete catastrophe. It's like, well,
Yes.
you know, that's an easy way to manifest that. We be careful what you think, right?
Yeah, where focus goes, energy flows. It's so true. And,
It really
when you
is.
were talking about, at the end of your film, you talk about being the change we want to see. That wasn't the word you used, but that was basically what you were saying.
Oh,
This
that's
is a
it.
message that has been woven into our society for quite some time now. This isn't a new message.
Absolutely.
And I feel like there
No.
are more and more people going, hey, let me do that. Let me go ahead and be that person that steps into the light, that steps into saying yes to
Yeah.
the natural remedies and and buying from a farmer's market instead of a big chain store, like you said. And hey,
Yeah.
maybe I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
plant a garden and see what happens with that, because I feel like it's really
Absolutely.
important for us to move into growing more and more of our own food. I feel like that's really, really super important right now as well. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a key word for me, the when you were speaking there, is sovereignty, right? Coming back into our own power, our own
yes,
sovereignty. That instead of looking for these powers above us to tell us what to do and where to shop and what to think, that we start reclaiming that for ourselves and going, hang on a minute, I'm in charge here.
yes,
You know,
yes,
I get I get to choose where I shop to a degree, right? I mean, I still have to buy stuff on Amazon. Sorry about that, but I do,
right.
um, you know, I put my hands up and go, I'm not, I'm trying to, in my practice, D, and with my clients, I mean, with the work that I do, I'm trying to be real, which means for
Yes,
me being brutally honest and going, I'm a beginner at this too, right?
yes.
It's a moment by moment. Meditation, mindful practice, spiritual practice is moment by moment. And you can have, like this morning, I had like this killer meditation. I was like, holy moly, this is amazing. And then I had to go and do the washing up and take my laundry to the laundrette and get some food shopping from the supermarket. So, all of that is spiritual, right?
Mhm.
It's like, if we start compartmentalizing and go, no, 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 that can't be spiritual. I can't, like my spirituality is when I get back home and then I have my crystals and my singing bowl and my incense and it becomes conditional, right?
It
It
does.
becomes conditional. And I'm all about understanding that that's what mindfulness is meditation in action. It's putting meditative practice, spiritual conscious practice out there. So I took my meditation with me to the laundrette. I took my meditation with me to the supermarket. And it's about coming from the inside out, right? Finding a way to broadcast that energy frequency that we talked about before in our previous chat, which should have been a podcast, but it actually was a pre-podcast podcast, wasn't it?
It was.
So, but just like, again, as I mentioned in my film, I managed to pack in, I don't know how I did it, D, but I managed to sort of condense in quite a lot of information into kind of a
Yes.
short 5 minute, like, and you can watch it a good handful of times and just, get a little bit more each time. But one of the things I mentioned in there is we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. We are energy, we are vibration. So walking down the street, feeling happy, not like making it happy if you're not, you've got to be honest. But if you are happy, let it show. Smile at
Yes.
people on the street. You're just
Yeah.
like, good morning, how are you? Just like share a bit of love. You don't know what difference that can make in somebody's life. Just smiling at somebody down the street can just lift their day. It can change their whole life. It can actually save their life. I've met people
Oh,
who are like
yes.
thinking, literally thinking, actually, I think I'm going to go home and kill myself. That's where they're at.
Yeah.
And just because somebody walked down the street and smiled at them, it changed their frequency and it saved their life.
I
So,
actually
these
had an
small,
experience like that when I was working as a nurse in the hospital, the VA hospital in North Carolina. We had a basement. There was a basement hallway there, and I was walking in there, and this lady was going one direction, I was going the other direction, and I could just feel her energy, and it was so low and so sad and dark. And but she looked beautiful, and I just looked at her and I was like, it was like, you need to tell her. So I said, whatever time of day it was, I don't even remember. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, whatever it was. And I said, you look really beautiful today. And she looked at me like with a shocked expression, but I felt her energy shift.
yeah,
It was like
beautiful.
amazing to her that someone said something nice to her. And I was like, I don't know what was going on with her, but I know in that moment that she was seen and recognized.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
changed
yeah, yeah.
within her because I felt it. It was incredible.
That is incredible. And it's so simple, really. It's not
Yeah.
like you cast, well, actually you did cast a magic spell, but it's like actually all you did was just share a little bit of your love with somebody else. And, if the world and if people listening to this podcast can just, yeah, let's share a little bit more of that joy. Let's share a little bit more of that hopefulness. Let's share a little bit more of that laughter and that playfulness and just see how it changes it. The thing is, it's a feedback loop, isn't it? So you benefit from it too, right? As you give, so you receive. So as you receive, so it's just like I had a client yesterday for a quantum healing session. I'm just like, I'm doing my thing, I'm just like in this kind of trance state, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, I'm the one giving the treatment. But it's like it's like it was just beautiful. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, giving is such a gift, actually. And those simple, like I say, it doesn't sound like, from a very sort of analytical, um mechanical mind, it just thinks, oh, how is that going to make any difference to anything or anybody? But actually, that this it's the simplistic that can be the most profound, actually. And just practicing gratitude, which is a huge part of my practice.
Yes.
Like, and when things go quote unquote wrong, I'm like, oh, where can I find the gratitude in this? It's like
Yeah.
immediately I'm like, oh, I'm looking for the treasure in it. And it
Yes.
just comes so easily like that. It alchemizes so quickly. And you're like, God damn it, I'm so grateful for that. And it's like,
Yeah.
but hang on a minute, this horrible thing just happened. But you're able to like get the message and get to the treasure really, really fast and see that everything we're in a constant communication, right? We kind of, we generally, not you and I, obviously, D, we're like, enlightened people. I'm only joking. But it's like, you can be forgiven for thinking that we are separate. We've got this thinker, we've got this identification with things, and everything appears to be what we can see through our normal eyes, this 3D realm, right? It seems very solid, and it's easy to get convinced that that is all that there is, right?
Yes.
Um, but that's why I kind of love the new science of quantum theory, the quantum science, because it's starting to bring everything full circle. Like, told you so. Everything's made of empty space, which is actually full of potential and energy. And I've been saying that for years, and now even
Yeah.
the scientists are saying that.
Yes.
So, it's all coming together, that it's like, oh, what happens over here affects things over there. The power of prayer. There's been so much science and so much experimentation done now about how the power of we're really powerful.
We
It's
are.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
have
it's very exciting. It's so
it
exciting,
really is,
and the
really
possibilities are
is.
just incredible. I mean, it really is amazing to me. And I love, you've said it several times, and I want to kind of zero in on this for just a moment. Simple. Like there's nothing
Hmm.
complex about these concepts. They're super
No.
simple. And I've said this a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more throughout the rest of my life, that it's us humans that make it
Yeah,
difficult.
complicated. Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah, yeah. Because the mind
complicate the
can't.
crap out of it.
Yeah, yeah. The mind cannot tolerate simplicity. It doesn't like that at all.
Right.
Why write two sentences when you can write a whole book? The
Right.
mind loves to think, right? It's just think, think, think,
Yeah.
think, 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 think.
Yeah.
But when you actually break it down, it's like, when people ask me what I do for a living, I say I teach people to sit and breathe. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
what? Is that a living? How do you make money out of teaching people to sit and breathe? I mean, surely we're
Yeah.
doing that all the time. Well, yeah, we are. We are literally sitting and breathing, or we're not necessarily sitting, obviously. We do have to walk around and lie down as well. But you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
actually, but what is meditation really if it's not sitting and breathing?
Yeah.
And yet we are the identification with the mind, the identification with the body, the identification with feelings, the identification with belongings, environment, status, all of this attachment, right?
Yes.
Um, is kind of like a trap. really.
It is such a
Because
trap.
all of it's
Yeah.
temporary, right? I love that thing. I do quite a lot of this when I run retreats. One of the key techniques that I'll use in groups is to get people to sit opposite each other and repeat the question, "Who are you?" to the other person. And they take it in turns. And it's like, these are people that maybe they've just met. So it's like, well, my name's Karl and I live in Brighton and I'm 50 years old. And it's like, yeah, okay, thanks. Who are you? And you just keep going. Well, I don't know. I've already told you, okay, I'm a Virgo and I went to Egypt and it's like, yeah, okay, thanks. Who are you? And you just, it's like peeling back layers of just like by the end
Mhm.
of it, you're just like, I don't know who I am. And it's like, well, that's good. Right? That's good.
Right.
That's when it begins, right? That's when it
Yes.
begins. You strip back all of that identification, all of the ego lists of who we think we are. I'm a gender, I'm an American, I'm from the UK, I, where is it
Yeah.
gonna end? Where is it gonna end?
Yeah.
Like so that's why, I love that technique of just like inquiring, who are you?
Hmm.
Who are you? Really, who are you? And even when like because part of the work that I do, especially around this kind of visioning, hopes, dreams, ambitions for the future is even with that, is checking in, who are you? Because actually, a lot of the dreams, hopes, and visions that we think are ours, we've inherited. It's
Yes.
been DNA inherited from our parents, from our society, from our upbringing, from our schooling, from our capitalistic model, from religion, all of this programming, this deep, 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 deep programming. So even even our hopes and dreams aren't necessarily ours, D.
That's a fact. It's so true. It's so true. Oh my gosh. And people don't, I mean, and when you start realizing that, it becomes so much fun. You mentioned that before too. It becomes so much fun to dig in there and figure out, what do I believe?
Yeah, who am
Because
I
you,
really?
yeah, because we get to change our paradigm. We get to go, that doesn't resonate with me anymore, just because it was
Yeah,
taught to me by
yeah,
my parents and they lived that model and grandma
yeah,
lived that model. And, I
yeah.
remember when I moved and from a certain place into a different place, I thought, holy crap, it's like everyone there shares a brain. It's insane. Like, why are people so
Yeah,
afraid to think independently and have their own opinion?
independently.
I literally even said that to my dog the other day because we have a puppy. She's one, and she looks to our older dog to before she does anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just use your own mind. Like, you have your own brain, think for yourself. I even said that to the dog. It's so funny. But it's true. We don't
Yeah,
have to be afraid of it. It can be very beautiful when we allow ourselves to dig in
yeah,
and see what
yeah,
we're
yeah.
really made of.
What we're really made of. I think because that journey can be scary, right?
Yes.
That can be really scary to be really lost, right? You have to get lost to get found. But there are hard ways to go about it, and there are easier ways to go
Yeah,
about it. And I
that's
would
very
say that
true.
having chosen the hard way quite often in my life, and maybe that's what, yeah, I know, hello, no, but maybe people like you and me, D, chose on a soul level to do things the hard way so that we can better teach and advise and coach people to maybe do it in a more gentle, more loving, more, for me, it was all about, I was this lone warrior kind of thing, very
Yes.
male kind of, I don't need any help,
Oh, I
I
was
just
like
need to
that
sit.
too.
Right, yeah, well, it's not a gender thing. It's
No,
it's
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 a,
a,
but
it's a,
I was in that very
an energy
masculine
thing.
mindset because that is a masculine mindset.
Yeah,
It's not a soft
yeah,
way to be. It's a very rigid. And I
no,
actually had
yeah,
a spiritual mentor tell me that, D, you are so rigid. And this has just been within the last 2 years. And
wow.
every single time since then that I've caught myself in that space, I hear his voice in my head going, D, you're so rigid. Just, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to be rigid. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So I have allowed myself
Yeah,
to mindfully be aware of that, and it has shifted things completely, and I am in such a different
Mm,
place than I was a couple years
mm,
ago because of that.
mm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But that does, yeah, and that is beautiful. But I think that my point in that was definitely around making sure that we are supported on that journey, that we
Yeah.
don't choose the hard way, which is to be this lone warrior, and just I've got to sort this all out by myself. It's like, no, we're in the age of Aquarius now, dude. It's like it's about community, it's about
Yes.
fellowship, it's about finding a new family, a new tribe, what have you, and leaning into support and finding inspiration and guidance that we don't have to do this by ourselves. That's hardcore to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
I know because I've done it. It sounds like you have too, D. And
Yes.
part of our journey now is to remind people that we're better together, that we are lifted up by other people and their energy. Obviously, it's important to make sure that we're discerning who we are getting guidance from and who we are reaching out to for support, especially when we are sort of stripping ourselves down and peeling back all those layers and revealing, because as you peel back these layers, it brings you closer to your wounds, right? It brings you closer to um the trauma, right? Whether it's our trauma or the collective trauma, family trauma. Oh my God, we've
Yeah.
all had it up to here with, right? But we have to embrace it fully to be free from it.
Hmm.
um, those journeys are much, much better done with a trusted teacher, a community, friends, peers, support, absolutely. Because what we don't want, and I know this is because I've experienced within my own practice and indeed with clients that I'm working with, that there's a danger. There are dangers with anything. Everything has side effects, D. Even meditation and mindful practice
Yes, it
have
does.
side effects, and not all of them are good. Which is why we need guidance, because if you are walking around literally every day just going, I have no idea who I am anymore, that's not a good way to live, right? I remember going to
No.
the supermarket one day and I was in this kind of super depressed kind of state, but meditating a lot, which isn't necessarily good either to meditate when you're feeling really depressed. Depends on the style of meditation that you're choosing. But I was in the supermarket and I think it was washing up liquid, and I was just standing in front of the washing up liquid aisle, completely overwhelmed by how much choice there is. It was just like, I don't
Yes.
know. Do I need the green one, the pink one, the one with bioactive this? I don't know. I don't know which one I need. I was absolutely a complete meltdown in the supermarket. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all. But that's how lost I was. I couldn't even choose, bloody washing up liquid. So,
Right.
we do need to be gentle with ourselves. There's a quickening happening, the acceleration, right? Things that took previous generations a long time to heal and transmute. It's that fast. It can potentially be, right? With these
Yes.
amazing tools we have, and it's almost like not just people like you and I, but generations before us who have gone before have enabled things now to move and flow and heal potentially much, much faster. So, you don't have to be lost and in that really, I don't know who I am anymore state for very long. You can
Yeah.
move and shift. New ideas and new inspiration comes in, but please get, for your viewers, really, make sure you have good support. Make sure you have a good teacher that you trust and rely on. Um, don't suffer by yourself. Don't try and climb every single. And it's good to be a loner to an extent, and we need to have that balance within our, to find out what the balance is for ourselves.
Yes.
Um, but we are better together. We do need support, and in these very fast and intense times, I think that's more important than ever.
I agree with you 100% because I did do it a lot on my own. And if I wasn't the type of person that I am, I would have been lost. I mean, seriously, I would
Mm,
have been so in such a bad place. But I have this way of looking at things that's unique to most people. And
hmm
that's kind of my own personal little superpower. And I'm so grateful for it because I didn't for the longest time. And I agree with you 100%. It's so much better when you walk through this journey with someone that can allow you to see the light when you are
Yeah,
wallowing in this pit of darkness that
yeah,
you can't seem to get
yeah,
yourself
yeah,
out of, because you
yeah,
just don't know
yeah.
where to go. It's hugely
No,
important. So I'm
and
so glad
more.
you brought that up.
No, that yeah, it is hugely important, and it is also, I think, hugely important to seek out teachers who do know what that is like and have
Right.
visited those dark places and who are not afraid to talk about that. There's a lot of spiritual teachers who kind of just like, oh, I'm up here now, and I don't really talk about the dark and the shadow, and I'm very like, like, you know what? I think we do need to be. I think we need real,
Yes.
grounded people who, yes, we are moving towards activating the higher energies within us, connecting with the divine, but we do recognize our humanity, and then we do recognize that in my opinion, obviously it's only my opinion, but I feel like I am here to be here rather than be somewhere else,
Right. Oh,
you know?
100%. And
I
that's,
that I am here to be a human being, right? I'm
yeah,
a spiritual person. That is always true, by the way. Even the most lost people doing the most despicable things on the planet are also spiritual people. I know that's hard for people to hear,
very
but
hard. Yeah.
actually, it really is hard. I get it. I do get it. But actually, everything is contained within spirituality. How can it not be? Absolutely everything is contained within the divine, and that means the worst things that are happening in the world right now are also part of this incredible unfolding of creation that is happening, and maybe they serve a purpose as well to help. How can we evolve if there isn't something to evolve for, right? So maybe we need the shadow, right? Like I mentioned in the film, the idea that the shadow is the soil, right? You don't get the exquisite beauty of a rose without the fertilizer, without the soil. And what is soil ultimately? It's death, it's decay, it's waste that has come together to form this rich nutrient, that creates the new, that creates the life. So, maybe we need the darkest stuff that's happening in the world right now because of the potential that exists within it for change, for transformation, for healing, for growth, for evolution. It's a difficult concept, I understand, for people to get that even the worst things that are happening on the planet might be serving some greater purpose. But that's
Right.
why I think it's important. It's important for us to, as much as we can, take the widest possible angle we can, um, to be on that eagle's perch and to look at it all and go, wow, you don't get the beauty of a sunset without a sunrise. You don't get the beauty of a rainbow without the grey clouds and the rain. So it's all part of beauty, and one leads to the other. So there is a an infinite wisdom and majesty at work on planet Earth and within the whole universe. You think, I mean, stars and galaxies, wow, wow, wow. But there's also black holes just literally hoovering up and destroying, galaxies and stars and planets right this minute, just literally just. And it's like, well, that's also part of, creation, destruction is a polarity, right? So there has to be something greater, something bigger, that, birth, death, decay, renewal, birth, death, decay. That whole system is part of this spiritual, conscious, divine experience that we're all like, wow, I'm here, D. You're here
Yeah.
experiencing it. We are, I don't know if there's anywhere in the whole universe. There may not be. There may not be anywhere in the whole universe where the multidimensional and the three-dimensional coexist like they do on planet Earth. This could be the only place in the entire universe. I don't know. I haven't done
Yeah.
that much intergalactic travel. So I
I'm
don't know
ready
for
for
sure.
it
I
though.
don't know for sure. I
I'm
don't
waiting
know
for
for
my
sure, but
ride.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got one of my favorite astrologers. He says frequently, which the first time I heard it, it just blew my mind. He said, there are souls literally queuing up to get here on planet Earth, particularly now at this time, to be here. There are souls just queuing up to get here. And you just think, really? Why? I
Let me have a chat with
mean,
those folks.
have they seen the guidebook? I mean, it's like, really? But actually it's like, oh wow, wow, this is like, and my feeling about it, and from what I understand about evolutionary astrology, is that this moment in history, like the next 100 years or so, are going to see a profound amount of change and transformation on the planet. That we are here witnessing the growing up of humanity. Thank the Lord, it's about time, right? It doesn't seem like
Right.
that if you
Oh,
watch the news,
absolutely.
right? If you watch
Absolutely.
the news right now, it's all going to be the same old crap. You've used
Yeah.
that word, so I'm going to
Yes.
now.
Absolutely. That's what it is.
You know, but if you switch on the news, it'll be like, oh yeah, it's like I switch on the news and I'm like, I think I've seen this episode before.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah.
just like, hang on a minute, I know how this ends. This story that's playing out, and you just think, well, hang on a minute, but this is obviously it's real people that are suffering. I'm not trying to make light of it.
Right.
I'm just trying to remind people that these these cycles and these agendas that have been playing out for thousands of years, it's so last year.
I
It's so like,
agree.
oh, come on. Haven't we done this already?
Right.
Haven't we, isn't
Haven't
it
we learned
isn't it
anything?
haven't we
Haven't
learned
we been paying
anything?
attention? I've been
Hello,
reading,
hello.
right. I've been
So,
reading The
you know,
Convoluted Universe, the first book of The Convoluted Universe by
oh,
Dolores Cannon. And it's absolutely
I would love it.
amazing. And I feel like I've been given a guidebook, which is incredible. But one of the repeating themes throughout this book is how, and if you don't know what it is, it's Dolores Cannon did regressions and she taught other people how to do it. But these are the regressions that she did and the information that comes through the people for these. And one of the themes throughout the book is us humans, we have this need for greed and control and power in this most nefarious way. And that
Mm,
is exactly what has caused the collapse of all of these amazing civilizations throughout time,
yeah,
because we
yeah.
just can't seem to get the message that if we
Never
all
enough.
live in love and light and put out that positive heart-led energy where we are living in that world that you talk about, that supportive,
Hmm.
loving,
Hmm.
just giving, mutual, symbiotic relationship, that is the
Hmm.
magic. And when we can come
Yeah.
into that mindset and stay there as a society, that's when things are going to really super change in this enormous way that is just going to be like, holy crap, now we're there
I
finally.
mean, holy moly! I mean, Dolores Cannon, what a trailblazer she
Yes,
was. I mean, so ahead of her time, just absolutely phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, it is time we grew up. It is definitely time we grew up, and I think that's what we're going to be witnessing over these next years. And maybe things have to get worse before they get better. Maybe there's not quite enough crisis quite
Ugh,
yet. There's
us
still a
humans
lot
are
of people who are
stubborn.
too. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we're very good at denial, right? We're
Yes.
experts at denial. We're experts at bypassing, we are experts potentially at being very disconnected from ourselves and from our hearts. And that disconnection is what ultimately has created, as you've just eloquently outlaid, the rise and falls of previous empires, and the insane amount of destruction that we've been able to inflict upon both ourselves, other human beings, and the wider planet. It's just phenomenal. It's like if we don't change track pretty soon, then we know where that's going to end up. It's you know it's this is a very pivotal time. But
Mhm.
instead of that being like, I'm not in a state of fear when I'm saying that, because
Right.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I am
me too.
excited and I am hopeful. Um, there's a lot that's being written about the tipping point in human consciousness when we get to 8 billion people, which is coming really soon. And that which actually, if you put it on its side, is an infinity symbol, which I like.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe, maybe eight is this magic number of consciousness on the planet. And there's just going to be this tipping point, and maybe it will be triggered by external events. I mean, as we speak right now, it's just before the US election. Who knows what's going to happen both within the US and globally? There's a lot of powers that be waiting for the chaos to ensue in the US so they can make a move. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not putting energy into that. I'm just
Right.
saying that might be happening, right? But as I said earlier, these crises, these challenges, these shocking moments, they are also the treasure. They are the alchemy. It's the potential for alchemy and transformation, and for more and more people waking up. I mean, you think about, as horrific as it was, whatever you might think about it, how horrific it was, 9/11, and that shock and awe that happened in the world. The whole world stopped that
Mhm.
day and
Yes.
went, what the actual beep,
Yeah.
right? They absolutely did. And obviously a lot of bad stuff happened because of, in reaction to that. It's caused a huge amount of destruction around the world. I don't support any of that. But my point is that whether it's something like that, 9/11, or the pandemic, which also was an opportunity for a lot of people to wake up and do things differently and change, sometimes we need an external trigger or a health crisis within ourselves, or we get made redundant, or a partnership ends, or what have you. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that it's not bloody hard, that it doesn't require pain, and it's hard, and there's tears and toil, and we don't want to be having to do any of it, but we are here to be human beings, and that means feeling our feelings and embracing what is occurring. And as we do that and put out a message of energy and positivity, and recognize that even in the darkest moments of our lives, there is this seed of potential. It's
Mm.
darkest before the dawn. Sounds such a cliche, doesn't it? Darkest before the dawn. I'm like, yeah, I know that. Oh God damn it, I know that. But
Right.
it's like, actually we sometimes need to be reminded that it is
Yeah.
darkest before the dawn. And when the dawn comes, it's like, wow, suddenly
Yes.
there's light. Suddenly there's growth. Suddenly all the flowers start opening up. And maybe that's a good analogy for where we're at right now, is like, we're at the cusp of this great change on the planet. We've entered into the age of Aquarius. It's actually here now. We are
It's
in it.
here.
You
Ah!
know, it's here. But people are like, yeah. Yeah, but people are like, yeah, we're in the age of Aquarius. Nothing's changed. It's like, it's a 2000 year plus cycle, things do take time. But we are, I believe, entering into a period of accelerated growth and accelerated change. And whether or not that growth and change suits the 1%, right, or suits the psychopaths and the sociopaths that are running the planet, or whether it suits us, is entirely our decision, really. And we are coming more and more into the recognition that, oh no, hang on a minute, I'm the powerful one. I have
Yes.
power. I am really powerful. You are really powerful. Everybody listening and watching to this podcast, we are powerful.
Yeah.
We are more powerful than we have ever been told. That's one of the greatest conspiracies of all time, is the
Mm.
the the, the suppression of our sovereignty and our power, that our God self, right? I'm going to use the God word. Oh my God, he's used the God word. But what if we are God,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
a
What
hundred
if,
percent. I believe
what?
you.
Yeah, yeah,
It is the biggest well hidden secret because it's not
yeah.
even hidden at all. We are it.
We are it. We
We
are the
are
ones
it.
we've been waiting for. We
That's
are
right.
the spiritual beings. We don't need to to bow down and prostrate ourselves in front of, these holy people. I mean, we can do that because we can give some respect, but actually, why don't you just bow down to yourself? You are a divine being of light. You are a prince, princess, a queen, god, goddess of divine light, of divine spirit. And this is reclaiming our power is definitely got to be part of how we change the world and the world order, and recognizing, and that obviously comes a huge amount of responsibility with that, right? As you
Yes,
start
that's
realizing,
right.
oh my God, everything I say, everything I do, every action I take is a communication with the divine. Holy moly, it makes us like, okay, I need to be like careful, right? I'm not going to start
Yes,
dissing people on the street. I'm going to watch that inner critic, and I'm going to smile at it and go, hello, I'm aware of you. And I'm going to center myself in the heart, and I'm going to come back to love. And I'm going to smile at that person who I can see is in a dark space. And I'm going to make different choices in my life, and choose as much as I can to live consciously from the heart, from joy, sending out an energy and a frequency, not buying into the fear anymore,
right.
not buying into the limitations, not buying into the idea that I am small and I am insignificant. It's
Yeah,
not an ego thing. That's a really important point though, because
right.
spiritual, there is definitely a spiritual ego thing. I'm aware of it within myself. I'm sometimes walking around going, "Oh, I feel very spiritual today." I'm I'm definitely above these other people. I'm much more advanced. It's just like, got to watch that, right? We really have
Right.
to watch that.
Yes.
It's not an
Yeah.
us and them,
It's
right?
not at all.
We're
We're
all in it together,
and we're in
and
the
we're all
perfect
beginners.
place that we're supposed to be right in this moment. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's a
that can
really
be hard,
important
can't it?
thing. It can be. And I feel like that's really important for
Yeah.
people to understand because when we fall into the trap of looking at other people and thinking, well, we're not there yet. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
The person that you're looking at wasn't there yet at some point in their life, too. You know,
No,
we
no.
have to travel
And
through that journey, and it's not a
yeah,
contest. It's just an allowing.
it's not a contest, and we're not in competition with anyone.
That's
You
right.
know, there isn't, it's not about getting to a destination. It's
Right.
about being on the journey, right? It's a journey, not a destination. And it's not about comparing ourselves to other people. My idea of happiness is doing this podcast with you right
Yeah.
now. I am absolutely like fizzing with happiness right now
Me
because I
too.
am right,
Yeah.
but that's not everybody's cup of tea. So,
Right.
we're all unique. We've all got unique gifts. We've all got unique flavors. It's not always about being big. Again, this capitalistic model has like seeped into our cells. Like, oh, it means I've got to be big and I've got to make loads of money and I've got to, work really hard. And it's like, hang on a minute, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just as the simple act of smiling more often.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the simple act of being more kind and more forgiving and more peaceful. And it doesn't sound it sounds a bit limp, doesn't it? It sounds a bit weak. It's like, really? But actually, there's so much power in
So
acceptance. There's
much.
so much power in kindliness, so much power in forgiveness. It's the ultimate gift, really, to somebody is to forgive them. You know that they, on an egoic level, you're like, but they've done something wrong. God damn it. You're just
Yeah.
like, I can't. The ego doesn't want to let go of that at all. I'm like, no, you hurt me. You upset me. You did
Right.
something I don't like. And I'm not going to forgive you ever. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. That's just the ego speaking. Can you find another note? Can because we're like an orchestra, right? We are every single moment of every single day, we are broadcasting music. Think about that. We're
Yeah.
just
It's
music. We're
amazing.
broadcasting. And yeah, I can have that identification, and none of that it's not negating any of that. Yeah, this person did hurt me and I am upset and they have treated me terribly, etc., etc. Am I going to live with that for the whole of my life and let that
Right.
like become a tumor, a cancer that I carry around with me, whether that's a metaphysical cancer or an actual cancer?
Right.
But is it is it possible for me to find another place, a dwelling place within myself where I can start, and it's a journey, not a destination necessarily, to be in love,
Yeah.
compassion, forgiveness, recognizing that we're all doing the best we can given our current state of evolution, as it were, and we're not in competition with each other. And as hard as it is, and I appreciate it, is, one of the biggest challenges at all is to forgive people, right?
Yeah.
To actually like that's a journey. And that's, I mean, I love EFT for that. I use EFT with my clients. It's a fantastic tool. Hypnotherapy is great. Affirmations are great. And just bringing our awareness more and more into the heart, coming
Mm.
into the heart, seeing that this, not this gold coin, but this
Yes,
heart space is where we reside. And this thinking bit up here, it's a great tool. I don't diss the mind, the intelligence is a fantastic tool. It's a lousy master. It's a great tool, but it's a lousy master.
it is.
So can we drop our center of gravity and come into the heart and really nurture that love space?
Yeah.
First of all, for ourselves, because a lot of people don't love themselves, right? That seems very egotistical to love yourself or to
That's
forgive
what we've been
yourself.
taught.
It's
That's
been
a
to us exactly right.
societal
Yeah, we've been
construct right there.
yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And it's like, okay, how do I forgive other people who've done terrible things to me in my life? Well, that's step 5. But step 1 is to practice love and compassion towards yourself. Because if you can't love and accept and give compassion to yourself, you ain't never gonna heal your relationship with other people and the things that other people have done to you. Start start with you. Start with coming in, be in love with yourself. That sounds really rude. But I
It's
don't,
so
it's like,
beautiful though. And forgiving
yeah, I mean,
yourself is the big key because I think we
it's a
focus so much
huge
on forgiving
one.
other people that we forget we have to forgive ourselves and
Yeah.
for allowing ourselves to be treated badly and allowing ourselves to make some of the decisions that we've made and stuff. And we can start that can change anytime. I always like to
Yeah.
say, I heard the phrase, and I can't even remember who I was listening to, but up until now, my life looked like this. Up until now, I did that
Mhm.
thing. You can start
Yeah.
today and shift things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look
Yeah.
like this complicated process or that you can't do it because you had a life that looked like that. It doesn't matter. That's
Yeah.
yesterday's news,
No, no, no.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we are renewing every breath. Every
Yes,
single breath, we are in a state of renewal, right? Every single breath, every single heartbeat is a new beginning, a new cycle. And that doesn't mean you can suddenly ditch everything that has gone before, if only, right? It
right?
is a journey, right? Right?
Yeah,
It's like, okay, yeah, but the more, stepping in this present moment is the power point. This is where all of that treasure exists. That's where all of that pure potentiality exists. That's the moment where we get to choose. So the more we can bring ourselves, and the more frequently we can bring ourselves into that power of now, into that uh, felt state of oneness, that felt state of beingness, the more potential and the more strength, spiritual strength we find to be able to re-examine our woundology, right? To re-examine the story of our lives, and and re-examine it and start changing some of that programming, some of that repetitive thinking. It doesn't mean that stuff didn't happen in the
right,
past, right? It doesn't mean that at all. We're not somehow brainwashing ourselves into thinking, I
right.
had a great childhood. I had a great childhood. I had a great childhood. No, okay,
No,
it's really, no, about, it's not about denial. It's not about bypassing. It's not about brainwashing at all. You actually have to get closer to the bad
yes,
childhood, right? Or whatever, you even have to get closer to, I don't know, the worst things that have happened in our lives. You have to get even closer to them. But getting closer to them through that lens of love and compassion and equanimity, and it's so transformational. It's so incredible what can happen. And then you start realizing, oh wow, now I get to change. Now I get to be really me instead of all of this baggage that's been weighing me down, maybe generational trauma that I've been carrying that isn't even
Yes,
doesn't even belong to me. It's stuff that
that's
happened
right.
hundreds of years ago, right?
Mhm.
But we've been carrying this heavy burden from our childhood, from our parents, from our grandparents, from hundreds of years ago, potentially thousands of years ago,
Yeah,
previous lives. Oh my,
that's
so
right.
much. But this moment and coming into that heart space frequently, that's the the place where that healing and that transformation can change. And then you're like, oh wow, you're born. I was gonna say born again, but I don't want to get that doesn't sound
Well, that
quite
is
right
it,
either.
though. I mean, it really truly is it because I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Wayne Dyer that said, we don't have to die to transform
Hmm.
because death is
Hmm.
it. We can actually do that while we're still living. It's just this process we
Hmm.
go through, and it's absolutely incredible. So I love that you said born again because I feel like that's exactly what happens. And I would like to
Yeah,
add
yeah. It's
too
just
that it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the
Go on.
human part of us. It's the human part of us that puts that judgment on things. The
Hmm.
spiritual part
Hmm.
of us isn't judging the things that happened to us before. It's not making us
Hmm.
less. That's that
Hmm.
logical mind that is associated with our human factor, as I like to put it.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
can choose to look at it from the spiritual side of things and not connect the judgment piece of it, which is the part that keeps us stuck.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's a really good takeaway for people listening in today and watching today. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's just yeah.
Man,
Yeah, and then you get to create, we get to change so much, and so much of that, oh, I can't do this, and I should do all these shoulds and musts and oughts and can'ts. You start waking up to the fact that, oh, none of that was me. None
right.
of that was actually who I am. It's come from this history, and through these transformational tools, whether people choose to do, there's a million different ways to go about it. You can, sitting and meditating is definitely a very powerful practice. I mean, I've done probably like you a huge number of different modalities over the years. We all have to find our own unique flavor. There isn't a one size fits all. Just because one person swears that going and doing ayahuasca is what sorted them out doesn't mean that's going to be the thing that works for you. Just the
Yeah,
same as tarot cards aren't for everybody,
that's
or I
right.
don't know. It's you've got to find your own. We're all unique. We're all unique. Don't expect to be like everybody else. Don't try to be anybody else, right?
Yeah,
Try and
why would
find
you
who
want to be
you
someone else? I mean, that's I don't
are, right?
understand it. Why would you want to be? And I do feel like, especially at the beginning of a journey, and you mentioned this before, how many choices you had looking at the body washes or whatever you were looking at in the supermarket when you were in that low place. I had that same experience when I first started into coaching because I have all these friends on Facebook that do coaching, and so I was inundated with all of these different, modalities and different ways of doing things. Should you be a high ticket coach? You should do it this way, that way. I was like, oh my God, I felt dizzy, like I just got flung off of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
merry-go-round. So I feel
yeah,
like
right.
we have to find what resonates with us and allow ourselves to
Yeah,
look at these choices and realize
yeah,
that we don't really have to make any of them. We can forge our own path that doesn't look like any of those things that we're seeing.
yeah,
So I,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I think that's
individual.
that's
We get to be us.
absolutely individual. Yeah, I mean, we can be overwhelmed with choice, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, you just have to come back, because when you start realizing that you're overwhelmed by choice, you're not in the heart anymore. You've gone into thinking, right? You've gone into expectation. You've gone into fear of just like, am I doing this right? This is I don't know what to do. Go drop back into the heart.
Mm.
Keep coming back to the heart. The heart will know.
Yeah.
You will know when you're in the heart what the right thing is, what the right, it builds intuition, right? It builds guidance. It allows us to receive. I very much believe that we all have a team of amazing people up there, ready and willing at any moment to drop in and help and guide us. Whether you want to call those angels or guides or ascended masters or just call it energy, or one of my favorite astrologers calls it the upstairs department.
Oh, I love
It's
that.
like, yeah, I know. It's like, great, why not? So it doesn't, the language isn't so important, right?
Right.
But actually I believe, and my experience is that, we are not alone here, that
Yeah.
we are right now, you, D, me here in the UK, surrounded by beings that are available to us to tap into, to get support, to get guidance from. And again, that all is made possible when we step out of the thinking mind, the analytic mind, the egoic identification mind, and into the heart, into that still space that is actually so much potential for us to feel our own way and to receive the love, the guidance, the support that we need. It's that really is incredible to me, is when you realize, not just intellectually, because it can't be intellectual, it has to be experiential, when you
Yes.
realize that, oh, we're never alone. We have brothers and sisters up there around us who are just love us to bits. They have
Yes.
nothing but love for us, nothing but love, and they are willing and able, whenever we allow them, and they're probably communicating with us all the time. We just
All the
don't
time. Yeah.
bloody we don't pay attention enough, probably. But the more we hang out in the heart, the more we allow stillness and spaciousness in our lives, the more that communication can come in. And then that's like, wow, you've got a team, D. I've got a team. Isn't that amazing?
Uh,
Um, you know, and that's when the magic starts coming for me, is when, yeah, and you start having I sort of play with them. I've got blue dragons who always get me car spaces to park.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, they're brilliant. I just say, blue dragons, in about half an hour I'm going to need a car space outside my house, please, when I'm driving home. And sure enough, there's always a space.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So, I love playing with them like that, because it's just like they just there's so much help and there's so much support from us. As I said before, this idea that there are souls queuing up to be here at this time, that planet Earth right now is like the place in the whole universe to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's like a whole gang of amazing ascended races, masters, angelic beings, guides, evolved, healed ancestors available to us to help and support us individually and collectively as we sort our stuff out here on the planet, and
Yeah.
upgrade, right? Upgrade to this
Upgrade.
place. It's time to upgrade,
It
baby.
is up level. I said the other day, I'm leveling
Yeah,
up, and you feel it when it happens. We do need to ask for their help though, because it's one we do have free will as humans. So I
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
important to know that and this is my own personal take on it, but I feel like they will help us in emergent situations without
Yeah,
us asking. But as a
yeah,
general rule, if we're going through something and it's not an emergent situation, then we really do need to ask for their help, and reverently. You know what I mean? Honor
yeah,
honor that
yeah, yeah,
relationship with them, and
yeah.
don't feel entitled to it. It I mean,
Right.
we are, but we don't with that attitude comes a lower vibration. So I feel like it's really important to be
Yeah,
reverent and respectful in our communication.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really important. And I think for me that brings me back to that simple but profound practice of gratitude.
yes.
Um, being grateful, being on the lookout every single day for things to be grateful for, and putting my hand on my heart and just going, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they love that, in terms
Yeah.
of guides and angels or what have you. That for me is the way that I feed back to them that, I'm grateful and I'm open for more. Um, and gratitude is just a great practice. I've had huge amount of spinal pain that I've been dealing with, both recently, actually, in this latest flare up with my back, but it's been a massive, long journey. I had a very, very serious car accident that I was incredibly lucky to survive. And part of my journey through to awaken was through severe pain. Oh joy! But that was part of that was the journey, and it came back recently, and I had this huge spinal pain, and I was sitting and I was meditating with it, and I really allowed myself to go really into the pain with no resistance, just gratitude. And that sounds like you must be a sadist if you're grateful for pain.
Right.
But right. But you know what? It was incredible because what happened was my resistance to it dropped. And what you resist persists.
Right.
So as I dropped and became soft and loving and accepting, total acceptance, it transformed and it transmuted. And I went from having basically a slipped disc to being completely recovered in a couple of days. It was phenomenal. And I am beyond sure that part of the reason that it healed so quickly was that I put up no defense against it. I put no resistance against it. I allowed myself to go fully in and go, let's really feel this pain. Let's really feel it. Let's absolutely embrace it. It was incredibly difficult, but also exquisite at the
Yeah.
same time. It allowed that transmutation, that transformation, that alchemy to happen. And that's why, like I said at the beginning, that the most difficult, the most challenging aspects that are happening in our lives and in our society can be
Mm.
the alchemy, the gold that enables very fast transformation. And that's what we need. We need it in our lives. We're fed up with suffering. We're fed up of division. We're fed up of injustice. We're fed up of the planet being abused and destroyed. How are we going to change that? Starts with us.
Yeah.
It starts with coming into the heart, and it starts with us coming into these seemingly simple but profound spiritual practices: love, gratitude, compassion, forgiveness, acceptance, equanimity. Powerful practices that absolutely change. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
It changes my clients' lives as they work with these principles. And the more of us that get involved in that energy and come more and more into the heart, the quicker we can move on from this tired old system that is just basically beset with, it just wants to destroy itself, basically.
Right.
We can move
Absolutely.
to a whole new frequency, a whole new earth, to come back to
Yes.
my film. That's
Yes.
my vision, baby. That's my
And
vision, the new.
it's a beautiful one too. And I love it. We've come full circle here, Karl, in our conversation. I'm so excited. I love talking to you. And I told you in the pre chat, and I just want to throw this in, that we had such a great pre chat that I remembered it in my mind as a podcast recording. And when I went back to look for the file and I couldn't find it, I was like, oh no, what happened to the file of my episode with Karl? And it wasn't even a recording. That's how good it was. It was incredible. So I'm so happy
Oh,
that
well,
we
I,
are.
I think we've done a pretty good job on the recording.
Yeah, I think so too. I know we have, and
Yeah.
I love it. And I know that you've touched so many lives out there with your words today. And I do plan on dropping the link to your movie in the description box so people can access that and view it for themselves because it is very beautiful and impactful. And I love that. So
Yeah.
if
Thank
people
you,
would
Dee.
love to, you're very welcome. If people would love to work with you, where can they find you? What's the name of your business? And tell us all about that
It's
piece.
Carl Braveman, Carl Braveman, Carl Braveman. So just put Carl Braveman into Google or whatever you use, carlbraveman.com. I'm Carl Braveman on all the social media. So I would love to connect with people. I've got another film coming out soon called Broken by Design, which is all about the healthcare system,
Oh,
which is
yes.
currently bankrupting the whole global economy, right? So that's coming out quite soon. I've got a course, Start Your Day the Right Way, with Karl Braveman, which is encouraging people to carve out time for themselves to set that tone for their day, right? Whatever that means, doesn't have to be a sitting meditation practice. It can be singing, drawing, dancing, journaling, whatever you like. But encouraging people to get uh, to set an intention to start the day the right way. Because I don't know about you, but I do too much of looking at my screens when I wake up in the morning, and I'm like, okay, that's not the right, that's not the right energy. That's not
That's
the way to start the day. So I've
right.
got a course coming out. There's going to be a second movie coming out, and yeah, I would love to connect with people. And in the meantime, absolute pleasure, Dee. Again, I hope we get to chat another time and sending so much love and light to all of your audience. And keep coming back to the heart. It's
Yeah.
all about the heart. It's all about love.
Yes, absolutely. That's a beautiful ending. So, thank you everyone for joining us. I will have his information in the description box below the video so you can contact him and work with him yourself if that's what you choose to do. I know it's going to be a beautiful experience for you if you do choose it. So, thank you again. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can get this information out to more and more people across the world because it certainly is needed right now. Thank you all one more
Mm.
time. I love you, and I will see you on the next one.